Hello and welcome to the Footy Times Premier League review show. It has been a while. I know I was starting to miss this a little bit. Hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year period. So we thought we'd just sort of lump all the festive fixtures together and talk about them at one shot. And no stats, no analytics this time. We're just going to talk. We all have a few things to get off our chest, me especially. Uh, So I've got the regular crew with me, Nisar, Sheldon, Rahul. Hope you all had a great time
Yeah,
and
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed your break.
yeah.
Um,
You can say that
I
again.
certainly didn't enjoy it for some reasons. Yeah, I know you guys had multiple reasons to do so. Can't quite say
Yep.
the same about myself, but it is what it is. You can't have everything in life. And before we sort of just get into it, as ever, please like, share, and subscribe. It just takes 10 seconds for you, but it helps us enormously. And heading into the new year, we want to do more videos. Bring different sorts of content to the table. So it'll really help us get more engagement in order to be able to do that. So yeah, I think I know you guys want me to start
Get it out,
Yes.
Avinash.
with
Get it out.
Liverpool.
You're
Bare it
still
Yeah,
at the
all.
top of the table, if there is any consolation after
yeah,
all this.
exactly,
Yeah, we're
exactly.
joint top. We're back to
Yeah.
being joint top now.
Joint top. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but now I'll not say that obviously because it's not so convenient to do so because we are top outright. But yeah, I mean, gee, where do I start? Like,
Okay, you can start with one thing. How do you go from scoring 7 goals against one team and scoring 1 goal in 3 games?
yeah, I think the universe just conspired. They said we gave you too much, and we're going to take it all away, leave you with nothing, from Prince to Popper and all that. But yeah, you know what? I mean, it's at this point, it's a slump. I don't think there's any question about it. It's not just a blip. It's not just an anomaly. You can't just write it off. The wheels have well and truly come off, and I don't know. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I think the last time we failed to win three consecutive games was back in May 2018. And that was back when we were playing a Champions League semi-final, and it was a small squad, and it was kind of understandable back then. So it's just something I'm not used to seeing as a Liverpool fan. I think yesterday's game was against Southampton was kind of the last straw because it's kind of been building up to this. The previous two games, at least you could say, West Brom, we had a brilliant first 20, 30 minutes. We could have blown them away. We could have been 3-0 up easily. And West Ham sort of came into the game. We got caught between sort of going for it or, just preserving the point, and they nicked a goal of a set piece. It can happen. Especially when you got Sam Allardyce as your manager. He loves a masterclass at Anfield, as we all know. And then Newcastle it was a very frustrating game, but we had so many chances. If Salah had Firmino had got the finishing boots on or head on in Firmino's case, we could have easily won that game. But yesterday there was absolutely no positive to take from that game. It was just absolutely disastrous from start to finish. And even Klopp admitted at the end that this is big. He said this he doesn't usually make things bigger than they are, and that's how he usually tends to operate. But he did admit that this is pretty bad now, and players also have to take responsibility, which is something which he hasn't said before.
So,
Um,
so just sorry,
yeah,
one question. So, is this more because of the injury crisis that's going on, or is it more just the morale has been down, or like, or a bit of both?
yeah, I know you're used to fielding questions about Arsenal.
No, no,
What's
no.
wrong
I'm
with
just
Arsenal? So I
saying
know you're
Arsenal.
enjoying having asking a few questions
Yeah,
of
I
your
have.
own, but yeah, I mean, I have a few theories, but one thing I feel like the common denominator amongst in these three games sort of start at two and a half actually, because I think the rot started from half time in that West Brom game pretty much. And the one thing that I've really noticed is just how slow we look. Just getting the ball from back to
Mm-hmm.
front. I don't remember us being this slow and this labored and this ponderous. And that
Mm-hmm.
for me is the biggest takeaway from this entire week is we just seem to take. I know I've been ranting about this on the WhatsApp group as well. We just seem to take like 10, 15 touches only to just go back or sideways. There is just
Yeah.
no sort of forward drive anymore. There's no movement. There's simply not enough options for the player on the ball. That's not something I've noticed. And Curtis gave the ball away a lot of times in against Newcastle. Trent did the same. I think Trent gave away the ball 38 times, which is the
38
highest.
times.
39.
Yeah.
39.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
The highest this season, is it?
like ridiculous.
Yeah.
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 And to be honest,
And he was taken off as well, right?
yeah,
Like in that
yeah,
game.
and he was at fault for the first goal as well. But as far as the giving away of the ball goes, I feel like it's as much down to the fact that there is just not people providing options on the ball as much as the players themselves not being at it. If you look at what we had on the right hand side, Ox was pretty much useless. We're pretty much playing with 10 men in the last game,
Mhm.
and the connection with Salah is not happening. I don't know what's gone wrong with Salah. He seems to have gone off the boil as well. It's kind of a collective malaise at this point. And that's what I'm saying. So it just is not getting to the front players quickly enough most of the time. And when it does get there, when we do manage to find that line breaking pass quickly, it just seems to take an age to even, the front three are picking up the ball, they're dribbling and giving the ball away or picking the wrong options, or they're not making the right movement to get in front or get in behind. Salah and Firmino especially, they've been so sluggish. I don't know what's gotten wrong. What's
I don't
gotten
know. Especially the last game against Southampton, it seemed like everything was trying to be done through Mane. Mane
Yeah.
got the
Mane.
ball.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
made
Everything was
like a lot
pretty
of
much
He's
Mane.
literally
yeah.
the only one.
It became so predictable, though. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I mean, apart from the fact that, okay, you know what, I would give Liverpool a little bit of leeway in the sense that they did play Thiago and Oxlade in midfield, who were obviously, I think they were coming from injuries and stuff, right? So they were
Yeah.
obviously not match sharp. But I don't know. Would it have made more sense to play Milner? I mean, he offers that body in midfield.
Yeah.
The
I think, I think anyone would have been better than Ox the way he played. To be really honest with you, but I don't know. It's just Milner played against Newcastle, and it was the same story really. Milner and Curtis played in midfield, and it was the same thing. It's, I mean, like you said, I was going to say that Mane is probably the only one in the front three who looks like he wants to make things happen. In fact, the only one on the team. Nobody wants to take the ball and take responsibility to just drive it
Salah
forward.
couldn't even
Is it the case of like the finally all the hard work done over the last 2 seasons just like
Yeah.
finally like giving its toll on players? Because I think I'm not sure. Probably Avinash, you know better, but like Dortmund under Klopp went through like this similar like this 2 year brilliant phase, and then
Yeah.
that slump of not slump but not the same momentum as before, as in this high intensity take a toll at some point.
Yeah.
But I mean, the counter to that point would be the fact that they obviously scored 7 goals in one game. I mean, it's such a dramatic turn. It couldn't.
I think that 7 goals was not a true reflection.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think I even mentioned that it was a strange game. Like Palace had a lot of opportunities in that first half, and you got to remember Palace were also coming off the back of a difficult week. They're not used to playing that many games back to back, so even they were kind of a little bit off the boil. And it's just one of those days you can have them, right, when everything just goes in. And this league is so difficult, you just can't expect that just because you played well, you literally have to start from scratch. You have to earn the right to play. I've said this before, and that's just how it is. It's every game is a challenge. Every team is a challenge. Like look at West Brom. They went and got battered after that.
Yeah, they got battered by Arsenal.
Arsenal.
But they turned up. And,
Wait for it, guys.
and yeah, it's also the fact that every team plays like it's their cup final against Liverpool. Ralph Hasenhüttl, man, he was in tears. Like I respect the sentiment.
He was actually.
It was a great moment, but like you'd have been forgiven for thinking it just won the Champions League final. It was one league game.
Yeah.
That was
it more of a personal vendetta like for Ralph?
Yeah.
I think he has never won against Klopp.
Yeah,
Klopp.
not so much vendetta, but yeah, I think it meant a lot to him to beat
Yeah.
Klopp, because
I think there's that respect between each other, and for him to get one over someone like Klopp, I mean, everyone holds Klopp to such high standards, and Pep as well. So to win against those two obviously means a lot to the managers who are not considered top managers as such. But
no, I do get that, but it does kind of lend into that narrative, right? It is difficult teams turn up. They second half, man. Southampton, they defended for their lives. I have not seen Southampton defend like that in a game, which was just incredible.
And they didn't create anything. First half, I think they were at least aggressive.
Yeah.
As in, I think in the first half they created way more chances than Liverpool did, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
they also missing a few players like Oriel Romelu. I think was missing. They were missing a few.
Oh, Vestergaard, the centre back was missing.
Yeah.
The keeper was barely worked.
But he made a couple of good saves though. Forster.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. He made. I think he kept them in the game for a while.
But he didn't have much to do, honestly. This I don't remember. We had a first shot on target in the 75th minute, I think. I think that was a team effort by Mane.
Wow.
So it's just not very good. And yeah, you asked a question, Nisarg, and I was going to come to that. I do agree that it's more than physical. It's the emotional intensity of everything that they've been through in the last 2 years. Having to fight against this Manchester City team, the bar that they've set, just the idea that you cannot drop points at all, and this sort of relentless sort of, just win every game. And it's a lot of times it's been fighting and scrapping for wins. It's not been comfortable. I can hardly remember. I can count them on the fingers of one hand, the number of games that, we've won comfortably over the last season. So, and yeah, I know he had a similar situation at Dortmund, but I think he's actually made a lot of changes. He's been giving he's been giving players a lot of time off and accounting for the intensity of the Premier League and, everything else. He's definitely learned from his time at Dortmund, and the fact that he has a bigger squad. He brought in certain players over the summer just to help with that. But even they have been injured. Tsimikas has been injured. He was supposed to back up Robertson. Thiago's been injured. Jota's been injured.
Jota.
And
and also one more thing again. Sorry to cut you off, but one more thing which has surprised me is his team selections in games that did not matter. Like I probably on the long, probably I'm not saying that those were the direct results. Like those affected the results. But some choices just baffle me, as in, and not using the third sub. I think he did not use the third sub in 2 games, I think, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah. About the, so about the Midtjylland game, I think you're referring to, where, maybe Salah is the one he needn't have played. I think he played him for the entire game. But other than that, I didn't have such a problem with playing Jota because, he was able to rotate between the front four. So, and I always expected him to play it. It's just hindsight at the end of the day. You can't have imagined. It was just a very innocuous sort of situation. But I do agree with the substitutes. To be fair, he has not had a lot on the bench, but Minamino is the one where, he played really well against Palace, scored the first goal as well, and then he hasn't been seen in the 3 games since. So that's something which I'm not really able to understand, because he does have that little bit of creativity and a little bit of spark in the final third. Although I do feel like his physicality lets him down, because he doesn't win enough duels for me. And in this league, you have to win a lot of duels. You see the way Mane and Salah play, right? They're very strong. Like they get pushed and shoved all the time, and it's very hard to knock them off the ball. And that's even Firmino. So that's very important in this league, and that's something which Minamino lacks. But I still feel like you could have thrown him on. It couldn't have been any worse.
Yeah.
That explains why you got Shaqiri.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Shaqiri
Rahul was saying something.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rahul, go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying that's the reason why Shaqiri was preferred to Minamino.
Even Shaqiri is coming back from a layoff, so again, he also looked a little off color. And the centre backs. This is literally the third different centre back combination that we've been fielding in the last 3 games, right?
They're not even centre backs.
He was not even a centre back this time.
Yeah.
And you may think, okay, Fabinho and Henderson are good on the ball, we should be fine. You got Thiago and Wijnaldum in midfield. On paper, it looks great. But then it doesn't quite work out like that. I just realized how important our centre backs are to the way we build up. When Van Dijk is there, when we are not able to find options, he's just able to play that. Arteta mentioned this after the Arsenal game, how he's able to just play that 60-yard diagonal out to Salah, and we're out. There's that, and Joe Gomez and Matip are very good at breaking lines with their passes. That is something, again, we haven't had. Like I said, we've been constantly passing along the back line for most of the game. And even though Fabinho and Henderson, in theory, should be able to play well with the ball, it's very different playing at centre back as opposed to playing in midfield, where you're kind of facing the play all the time. You're not on the half turn. It's just a very different dynamic. And Nat
And
Phillips,
also the fact that you're playing like out of position makes you more conscious, right? As in, you're more focused on not making a mistake rather than making a good pass.
Yeah, exactly. Especially Henderson,
Which
you could see
I think that's what they did.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
what they did pretty much.
Yeah,
They were
Henderson was
really
really-
focused on not making a wrong pass.
Yeah, and it also has a knock-on effect on like who can play in midfield. Now Henderson, Fabinho is actually outstanding when he plays that number 6. He is the best number 6 we have. I know Thiago should be good in theory because that's where he played at Bayern, but again he was coming back from a layoff, and I do feel like I prefer Thiago a little further forward in this particular team. But yeah, Fabinho and Henderson not being able to play there, that's a big knock-on effect. And I feel like the entire team, that's one of the reasons why they almost seem to be scared to take the difficult option, because they're worried about what's behind them. And they're worried about getting counter-attacked. So it's got a knock-on effect in a lot of aspects of our game, and it's just it's difficult. It's difficult when you have such a very well-drilled system and a certain style of play and certain patterns of play that you're used to, and then suddenly you're not able to go back to it. It can be a little bit difficult. Although this Liverpool team, I feel, have been good at finding solutions and not coming up with solutions on the fly, as opposed to just being stuck to one way of playing. But they still have certain patterns and they still have certain ways in which they play, and to not be able to do that, it's not easy. And yeah, like you said, fatigue, injuries, it feels like they've just had to constantly fight against various things. And the refereeing has been like, I don't want to make that an excuse, but it's been quite bad this season. Like, it's all the dubious VAR calls that we've had. Every single thing that, if it's going in our favor, it gets checked for like 5 minutes before eventually getting chalked off. And then even the little things, I mean, Salah is always manhandled. He's always got somebody grabbing hold of him by the throat, by the neck. Jack Stephens did that in the match as well. He literally had Salah, in this grip, and he was just grabbing onto him. And Mane is constantly getting pushed and shoved and all the time. And I mean, we don't get those little calls as well. I know there is this theory of Mane and Salah being diverse, but I feel like they hold their ground a lot more than they actually can, given how much sort of physical contact they're subjected to. So it's all these little things, they just add up. And
I also think that every team, they usually step up that physicality when they play Liverpool as is, because they want to make sure that because they can't go on equal footing when it comes to like talent and skill is concerned. So they need to kind of get that physicality, to try and outdo Liverpool in that. So that is where that comes into play. I mean, that also happens to Messi and Ronaldo for that matter.
Actually, that is a good point, because I think that's another thing I noticed from the halftime against West Brom is West Brom much more aggressive in the second half. It doesn't mean they were high pressing on anything, but they were getting really tight, and they were forcing us to make quick decisions and be right on top of our game, and we just seem to shrink a little bit. And that doesn't usually happen, because this Liverpool team is among the most physical in the league, because they don't back down for anybody. That's one of the reasons why they're so good. They may not always be the best technically, but it's the physicality and it's the way they're constantly on top of the opposition. And that relentless wave after wave of pressure is what really makes them tick. And that's not happening for various reasons that some of them we've already discussed. And yeah, like I was saying, it's just so many things to fight against. And especially in a pandemic, no fans, and the condensed nature of the season, there's literally no time to just sort of take a break, reset, just get your heads back together. And I think we do have a bit of a break now until the Man United game. I know we have the FA Cup game of the weekend, but I don't know how seriously Klopp is going to treat that, because he never has. So I think it's really important that we use this break to sort of just get our heads back in the game, remember what made us so good, and just try to keep it simple and get back to it. Because, perspective is important after all. And after all these problems, it's crazy that we're still top. And yeah, I know United, City, Tottenham, they have games in hand, but they still have to win them. and we have to play all three over the next 3 games. So it's still kind of in our hands to turn it back around. And listen, it's going to be a long, hard, crazy slog of a season. It's going to be lots of ups and downs. I've never seen a table this condensed. I think even
Yeah,
in
it
that
is crazy.
mad 15,
There
16
was
season, I
there
don't
was
think
a
it was
meme
this
that I saw
condensed.
that like I think top five were
Yeah,
like first, and then the next were like top.
top.
So
Yeah,
like Arsenal
exactly. I
was
saw that too.
technically in top
Yeah.
four. Like it's like that dense.
Oh,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
account for the
Right.
joint
The joint one.
Yeah,
equal,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think there are like a
Ars.
bunch of
Oh,
teams.
yeah.
Yeah. So is it
I think we probably should segue
yeah.
to Arsenal and probably give Rahul first, like the spotlight of winning 9 points out of nine
Yeah,
in
who
the three
knew?
Yeah.
games.
Who
And I think one thing here, yeah, how quickly things turn around. I remember last time I was
Yeah.
talking about looking forward to this. I know you put a tweet out, and I have to take my medicine on that. But yeah, I was talking about how good, how I'm looking forward to this period and how we could pull away. And I was talking about how we need to give Rahul some grief therapy
right,
for
right. We
Arsenal's
are here,
slump.
right?
And one of the
I've
things,
learned from the
what's
best to
that?
give grief therapy, Avinash.
Yeah, I'm the one who needs it, and that's another thing. You know, one of the this is like damning indictment of this past week is I felt like I was watching Arsenal when they were in
Dude,
that
come
slump,
on.
where I don't know where the next goal is going to come from. I remember you telling Rahul, I don't know where the next goal is going to come from, and I genuinely felt that over these last 2 games. And I genuinely don't remember the last time when I felt that way about Liverpool. Probably it was under Rodgers back in like 14, 15 or whatever. So yeah, I think you can take over and you can finally talk in glowing terms about how you enjoyed watching
So,
Arsenal play.
How, first of all, how did Arsenal beat Chelsea and then go on this run of winning 3 games? Please explain to me how
Uh,
so
did
I,
they sum up?
so I think the first thing that we always kept talking about in the video was that the system needs to change, right? The way
Mhm.
Arteta is playing, and he changed that. He brought in Emil Smith Rowe to be like the Ozil-esque
Number
player, like the
10.
number 10. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the number 10. So I think that was like, I think if you see, that was the one change that sort of stringed together in all the games that we won.
Mm.
Like he was that sort of catalyst that made things happen in the midfield. Like I would want to talk about his West Brom game. He was like brilliant throughout that game, particularly. But like generally, the creative part of the Arsenal team, like as a creative part of the Arsenal team, he was just brilliant. And I guess the first, like just going back to the best out of the lot, the Chelsea game, it was just, I mean, all the players who were under pressure came through in that game. Like the free kick by Xhaka was amazing. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't get a better free kick, I guess.
Were you pissed off when Zaka was standing on the ball or not? Tell me that first.
Again, to be honest, I was that low that I actually didn't matter. Like whoever puts the ball into the back of the, I didn't care. And actually, I don't know who was the other candidate. Like
Actually, there was lack of
Luis.
other
Yeah,
candidates.
Willian is the
exactly.
one usually, right? Willian
Sorry.
also takes good. Willian wasn't
Will
on the pitch. He takes good
Willian
free
was
Who,
kicks.
out. Luis was
who was
out.
out?
Who else?
Does Saka also?
Lacazette
Xhaka's got
takes.
a really good left foot, actually. We've seen
Yeah,
that
yeah.
in
Yeah.
Xhaka has.
distance.
Yeah. Initially, when he joined, he had that shoot, whatever thing. Whenever he is on the ball around like
Yeah.
Shoot on sight, sort of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he has a good left foot for sure. But anyways, yeah. So it might be a lack of options actually. Now that I think about it, I don't see any other free kick taking players in the team. So yeah, I mean, he got that goal. It was brilliant. Lacazette got a goal finally, which was like a relief. And I
A
think,
nice goal.
yeah, what?
Penalty first.
Penalty. I think he's
Yeah,
talking about the Chelsea game.
yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah. The
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Chelsea game.
In the Chelsea game, he got the first goal was a penalty, right?
Penalty, yeah.
I,
I
and
think.
yeah,
getting the goal is what I'm saying. Like getting the
Oh, okay.
goal just
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
triggering his instincts is
Yeah.
what.
Taking
Yeah.
that duck.
That and I think the most deserved player, Saka, got the final goal.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
that
that
was
goal was
amazing.
that's
Like
amazing.
yeah.
I don't know if it was a
With
pass
his
or a goal, but yeah,
I mean,
I
yeah.
don't forget.
no, no, it was
That was the
definitely
one
a
you're
goal.
probably least surprised about the fact that Saka is.
Yeah, and
He's been the one who's been carrying this
oh
team,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Finally being able
He
to
and
thrive.
Kearney, two players I feel.
Yeah, or Tierney,
He
yeah.
has been
And
brilliant
yeah,
all
and
these like almost
yeah,
throughout the season, pretty much. Yeah.
yeah, and he never sort of let go. It was amazing to see him, and to see him get that goal, it was pretty amazing. So
You
yeah,
said,
sorry,
sorry.
what?
Jaka Saka Laka show.
Yeah, Saka Laka Saka. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
shakalaka.
is it? Yeah.
Yeah, tongue twister. So I think that really helped us. And Martinelli coming back, he didn't play a lot. I think he got injured and left. But yeah, I think at this point he might be a better option than Aubameyang on the left wing. Just
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
how,
to
mean,
be very honest, in all these 3 games, Aubameyang was the weakest link
yeah,
out of the
I think
two.
Yeah,
yeah,
Martinelli brings a lot of energy and
yes,
something that I've
Yeah.
really missed. Even quality, right? But more than the quality, I think the quality will come. He's just coming back after
right.
injury, but he just has that. I
The
think he was shouting
Brazilian.
at Aubameyang and stuff to press
Oh,
or
I
something.
didn't realize that.
Uh, yeah, I just saw this or did this somewhere. So he's got that, at that young age, he's almost got the leadership as well. And he's just got that exuberance, which is something if Arsenal have missed, discussed that quite a
Probably
bit.
comes with being
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brazilian.
the Brazilian swagger.
And yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
Isn't there Pepe too?
sorry.
yeah. I think it's time to weed out these expensive flops, Pepe's and Williams.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
it
for
is
sure.
yeah, I don't care as long as we perform at this point. I think we gained 4 places throughout the fixture, which is doesn't seem like a lot, but climbing from the relegation a bit around from the relegation zone a bit up. And as you said, it's a pretty compact Premier League table, so who knows how it might end up in a few time. But yeah, so I think that was like the first game which I felt was the catalyst behind sort of opening up sort of the spark that was missing from Arsenal's game. To be honest, the second game, the Brighton one, was the one that I was skeptical about after the Chelsea win because I thought that that might be the one that we might actually go and lose even before the game started because we aren't doing as great against Brighton apparently in the last 2 seasons. So, and it
Yeah.
was an away game nonetheless, so it was more of a sort of I was sweating about that game, and it didn't pan throughout. Like the first half, I think Brighton were pretty good. Um, we got one goal from Lacazette again, so he scored. Yeah, he actually scored in 3 games, four goals, 3 games. So yeah,
Four goal
yeah.
series. Yeah.
So that definitely helped us, and I didn't care if it was a scraping win or not. Like it doesn't matter if we deserve to win or not, but that I'm really happy with that game because I was genuinely, yeah, 3 points. That's what really matters.
Three
Yeah,
points. Yeah, that's what matters
exactly.
in this league at this point in time.
Exactly. So I mean, yeah, so I don't have a lot to talk about that game particularly, but
How does it how does it feel that Arsenal didn't spend around 200 million like
hmm.
Chelsea did and are just
three
three
points
points
behind.
behind
So
them?
I think it's still a perspective, Sheldon.
Yeah.
Like today, if Chelsea would have been playing good, no one would have asked that thing. So I think it's just the circumstances as it's playing out right now. I know,
It's just a
I think
season.
this is an argument probably an owner would use to not spend money. It's like, look at Chelsea. They spent 200 million and they still are not doing anything. Why should I spend more?
yeah, I mean,
No,
Yes,
but
it's
and
a
I guess my question stems from the fact that has Arteta finally figured out what he wants this team to do, and is this the way forward, or is this just going to be like the purple patch that Arsenal hits, and then it's back to square one?
No, I mean at least over the last 3 games, we have seen like a change in strategy, particularly in the West Brom game. Also, if you see, I felt like definitely there was like how do I put it the whole um, the gameplay and the link play was amazing in the West Brom game. So I definitely see there was
Wenger-esque.
sorry, yeah, yeah,
Wenger-esque,
I
yeah.
thought that the first goal was absolutely
right,
Wenger-esque.
the
I think was a
passing,
second goal, Saka's,
Yeah,
Saka
yeah, yeah.
like
was
he
brilliant.
rolled it into the net that one. So yeah, so a couple of one-touch
Yeah.
passes and give and take and all. So that was pretty good. So but the players sort of responded. Like there was like a midfield hole in the few games that we lost. In that game, Ceballos was brilliant. Like he was like the unsung hero I felt in that game. Like a few moments on the ball, like a few passes that sort of he conjured up was amazing, and his defensive work rate was also pretty amazing. So I think that spark was missing in the earlier games. How sort of the midfield gelled with the defense and the attack, and that strategy change I feel is definitely something that Arteta I'm hoping that he consciously has brought upon in the team. And
Hmm.
you definitely see that like the way we were playing earlier with sort of zero, like just overloading like numbers, 44 crosses in and stuff like that. So, so
Yeah.
you definitely see that change where there are sort of a mindful passage of play passing going on in the last few games, player building up play. So I definitely feel like there is that element that has changed in the game over the last few things, and I'm hoping that Arteta sort of keeps it dynamic, where he doesn't sort of say like, okay, this system works and now I'll just play with this system throughout. And like unless it comes to his job, apparently it doesn't matter. So that sort of
Hmm.
a situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel that there has been a change. Particularly, I feel like how the midfield.
As in,
Yeah,
yeah, as in one more thing I feel was the fact that like having like Alan Smith Rowe and Saka and like a couple of players who play for the batch,
yeah,
like even like it might be that purple patch. I feel that it might be that purple patch where you have that intensity from these young players, and then obviously it boils down to whether they have it in them to
take it up.
pick the
Yep.
team up
Yeah.
and continue this for a long
Right.
run. But yeah, just having those key players and hopefully, like I don't know when Partey is going to come back,
Yeah.
but hopefully with him coming back, it's like there is more in reinforcement. I think you just needed those, like like Willian should never be
Oh yeah,
picked in the team. I
for
feel,
sure. Like
yeah, he probably
Off the
shouldn't
bench,
even be on the
probably.
bench.
You sure?
I
I mean, he brings something,
But
like
he has,
experience
I
and
mean,
something.
he
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a leader on the pitch also to me at least. Like you don't see
I think
him
he's a
sort of picking up players around him when the game is down, and he doesn't like he's almost like an Ozil figure. When the game is bad, he doesn't sort of stand out and sort of try to pull up the
Hmm.
team. He doesn't do that. So I
Oh,
yeah.
don't feel Willian is a nice pick, even in like from bench. I feel like once the team is full, sort of comes back completely to full power, like not power as in like party comes back, Martinelli is 100% fit. I feel at that point Willian might easily lose his spot. I don't see him playing a lot of games if Arteta, like unless he changes something in himself.
FA Cups.
Yeah,
I think the key will be to blend that. He's got some really good young players. The key will be to blend sort of the experienced and young players to find the best combination. It's kind of getting there now. Lacazette coming back
yeah,
into the goals is a big thing. I
that's the
think
biggest thing.
Yeah.
hopefully,
yeah.
yeah, and hopefully Aubameyang also steps his game up now. Now that the responsibility is not all on him,
It's easier.
I think that
But I
could
mean,
that
I
could be
didn't see
massive
him
for
as a
him.
player who sort of ran away from responsibility. Again, he's a big game player, I feel. Oh,
No, sure. Yeah, but then it can be difficult when you're carrying the
yeah,
team and
sometimes.
everybody is struggling.
Expectations,
Yeah,
yeah. I
Yeah.
think there were a lot of expectations on
He was
Aubameyang.
literally the
Since
only source of
yeah,
goals, basically,
coming
right?
from especially since he was given that huge contract and stuff, so the more was
yeah,
expected from him. But you know what? I think, yeah, I think Rahul mentioned a really good point about the fact that youthful exuberance. That's what Arsenal was
yeah,
missing, and I think that's what's kind of turned the tides
yeah,
for them. So yeah,
yeah.
good.
And like,
So one thing I wanted to ask,
no,
yeah,
go for it.
go on,
Go
you were
for it.
saying
Go
something.
for it.
No, yeah. So basically, yeah, just looking at it from sort of the big picture. So from all this time, Arteta's been in charge for almost a year now, or has it been more than a year,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
We've
More than
seen
a year.
two completely different tactical approaches.
Mm-hmm.
He started off with a very sort of defensive,
Strategy.
three at the
Yeah.
back, counter-attacking
Right.
system. Now and then he had a real slump where he basically he seemed to have no plan except just cross the
Right.
ball. And then now he seems to have moved into a more attacking
Right.
setup where there is more play between the lines. He's got a proper number 10
Right.
there. He's moved to four at the
Yeah.
back. He's getting his fullbacks forward, all of
Mm-hmm.
that. So I don't know what do you think his blueprint is for Arsenal? Is it closer to what he has now,
So
or some sort of a blend between the two
I think
approaches?
it has to be a blend. So I think when he started off, the earlier system that you talked about, that worked because our attackers sort of converted the goal. So it was easier for him to sort of overload on the goals and just sort of
Right.
someone scores. Aubameyang, Lacazette, someone scores. But then sort of the double whammy was the attackers went through a lean patch, like there was no goals. So I think that hit Arsenal harder, I felt. That system and like the strikers going through a bad phase sort of double did it. With this system, it sort of covers it up because now you have a lot of other players also coming into the play. It's not just people are not just bombarding on the wings and feeding in to the strikers or whoever the most advanced player is. So over here you see Smith Rowe and Saka getting more involved in the final sort of inside the box. So you sort of distribute it out in this system. You don't rely on your attackers to just get the goals for you.
There's more
So
build-up play, right? As well,
I
Yeah.
and I think
in the final third,
right,
rather
right,
yeah,
than just counter
yeah.
attack.
So I
I was
think
going to add.
yeah,
I was going to add the fact that he probably realized that there was no point whipping in crosses because no one was getting at the
yeah,
end of it.
exactly,
Yes.
And
exactly.
also, I don't know. This is just my thinking. The fact that he realized that Arsenal were leaking a lot of goals in the beginning, so that which is why he had to go with the back three, and also to accommodate David Luiz, whose main strength is actually playing in a back three.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so
I've seen he's tried to move to the back four for a while now, I think. But then the results weren't there. Obviously, things were not working, and it just wasn't able to get the right plan, right tactical sort of
And
framework
players also,
in
right?
which the players, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
players I
right.
think
It's a
like that
combination
was the
of the,
biggest thing
yeah,
of in the puzzle. Yeah,
yeah. So it's
And
either
one
you
thing, go ahead.
create a system to fit the players, or you have the players to play a certain system. I think that was the kind of deadlock
right.
that Arsenal
Yeah.
playing. Yeah, you were saying, Nisar.
Yeah, it was like one thing that stands out also for me is like in the 3 games, just conceding 1 goals, and I think Gabriel was missing
Yeah.
in 2 games or 1 game.
Sorry, what? Gabriel was
I think
missing all the games.
all the
He's
games. I
All the
think.
yeah,
games.
yeah. He's
Yeah,
in COVID
and
lockdown.
yeah, so even with like the kind of the quote unquote the main
Yeah,
defender not
yeah,
being there and not conceding means that the system kind of
yeah,
did work, as in the hard-working players compensated for the lack of the extra man in defense.
yeah,
I felt like I saw like Alan Smith Rowe pretty much wherever you look in the screen, he was there.
yeah. He was popping
He
up.
was just
Yep.
running around all over the place, and yeah, that probably just comes by that youthful exuberance you said. It's just that whether is that sustainable, because
yeah,
I mean, it
that
can be
things
a
catch up to
a
you.
I think
stopgap solution, right? Right now, the system is working.
Yeah.
As I said, Arteta, this system might work for Arteta for a few games. He has to change the system, but hopefully, with this run of play, Lacazette is back in the goal, so he got his confidence back.
Hmm.
Maybe the three,
yeah.
Yeah.
sorry, the three to whatever the wing back system might work again later on.
Yeah.
So
that too.
it depends.
I think it's just about, like I said, it's just finding that you can't just go with young players. You just need to have
Yeah,
that blend. Like once
Yeah,
some of the
happy
senior
medium.
players, the fact that Lacazette is back in form, the fact that Oba now probably feels less burdened, Partey
yeah.
coming back, you blend that with the likes of Saka's and Smith Rowe's and Tierney's, and you can. That's kind of the way to go.
Who knew
I think.
Rob Holding might be
I
playing
did.
so
Oh
many
yeah.
I
games.
did take him out of my FPL team.
Uh,
Because
Avinash finally got due for
this
keeping
sir
Rob
was
Holding
having a
for
go
so
at
long.
me.
2 clean sheets. But yeah,
Sir was
like
like,
No,
why do you
two
have
clean
Rob
sheets,
Holding? I don't
two
have
clean
anybody.
sheets, and he got 1 assist. Like
oh,
out of
assist?
Yeah.
all
Which
the
one?
players in the game, Rob
Not
Holding got an
much of an
assist.
not much of an assist. He just gave the ball to Tierney and Tierney
So
scored a
so
solo
that
goal.
so that
Pretty
was sort
much.
of the last thing that I wanted to call out. Like shout out to Tierney. That goal was brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh
Like
yeah.
But
like
Yeah,
track going through players and that one self pass, whatever you call that, and the finish on his weaker foot, it was amazing to see. So yeah, that was going to be my closing sort of thing. Shout out to Tierney. It was an amazing goal, and he's probably the other player apart from Saka who deserves to be on the score sheet.
I think he should get the assist and the goal for that.
Okay. True.
Uh, but yeah, I'm not complaining.
And yeah, one thing that I wanted to mention was like I feel like I was just talking to like before the call that I feel like Arteta, Lampard have to thank Ole for their jobs being still with them, because I feel that every club is kind of hoping that this turnaround would happen, like because like with a inexperienced manager, and I think it's just a complete hope based game these 3 clubs are banking on the managers. Uh, as in, I still feel probably I'm biased, but I still feel United probably have the quality to uh, sustain this slightly longer as compared to Arsenal. I don't know what is wrong with Chelsea, to be honest. I have no comments on
Chel-
how bad they have been. As in, they lost 3-1 is becoming their new standard score line, it seems.
I
They
think
lost to Manchester City also.
Speaking of
there's some.
Oli,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
I think we should. No, you wanted to say something about Chelsea? Maybe we
no,
should
no,
hold that
no.
off.
I was going to say that Ollie. I mean, I think Ollie gets a lot of credit, and it's very deserving as well. But then none of those teams you mentioned has Bruno Fernandes. I'm just going to say that. I mean, he is the talisman for Man United.
Yeah. He should just be player, captain, manager.
Yeah, well, yeah, he should be
Just-
everything. The guy
just,
is the guy is like amazing, and I mean, he whatever he brings onto the field, that leadership, that it's so infectious. I mean, when if I was playing what do you call for Man United for that matter, I just looking at him and his exuberance, just like wanting to challenge for every ball, tackle, to create, to score, that sort of what do you call that sort of mentality. The last time I saw Man United player, that was either Wayne Rooney or Cristiano Ronaldo. So yeah, that's
true.
Yeah.
Which makes a nice segue.
Bruno FC.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Talk about Bruno FC.
United.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the stage is yours, guys. Go for it.
It's been I'll probably get started, Sheldon, if you don't mind. Uh as in I think uh, I was just recalling the previous video and how re- relaxed Avinash was and how tense we were on the three fixtures that were coming up. And it started off on an okay note with a draw against Leicester, which I think we did enough to win personally. Uh, and then I was like, okay, there we go. Two more losses probably coming on the road on the way now, because two home games and our home form has been terrible.
Yeah.
And Wolves, I simply hate Wolves. I can't emphasize that enough. They have been the bogey team for United for like over the last few seasons.
And
And
Burnley.
and Burnley, yeah, that's true. And we have to play them next. Anyways, but with Wolves again, it was looking like a 0-0 game. There wasn't a lot of creativity that happened in the game. I felt the game was fairly average by United. But then at the end, that brilliant pass from Bruno and then Rashford finally scoring. He had missed quite a few chances. He pretty much has missed quite a few chances on all these
Yeah.
He
three
scored
games.
against Leicester,
Exactly.
right?
But he has scored. He did score against
Yeah.
Leicester. He did score against Wolves
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
So,
The
but
guy-
it is kind of becoming like that Bamford situation that you create 10 and you score 2.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but credit where it is due. At the end of the day, he's still scoring very important goals. I think he had nothing left in his tank, but like getting a goal so late in the game was brilliant to see. And I think I celebrated the most in that win. I think that win reminded me of kind of those old times where United would just pull off those goals in the
Yeah,
Fergie time.
Ferguson was
And
there in the stands, right,
so
for that game. Yeah.
yeah,
He's there
yeah,
in all of
Oh,
the games
okay.
practically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
it's
it definitely was a reminiscence from the old times.
yeah. I mean, the fact that we were able to dig deep, I don't know, it's probably too early, and I don't want to jinx it, but it was back to old times where we scrapped, and we didn't play as well, and we still able to
Yeah.
get those 3 crucial points.
And even
And it
I
was
think it is kind of resemblance of what Liverpool did over the last 2 seasons also, right? As in
yeah,
they had games where they didn't play well, but they still were able to win it. And it looks like that is kind of what is absolutely needed in Premier League these days to
exactly.
to be
It's always
anywhere
been
near the
the case,
title.
right?
Yeah.
It's
And
what they say. Like these are the kind of games champions win. That it's always been a
yeah.
thing. It's a
Yeah.
bit of a cliche almost.
I do want to add though the commonality between those 3 games is the Maguire Bailly partnership.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very crucial. I mean, Bailly obviously the only I mean the very first season he had for us under Mourinho was like his breakout season. He was like one of our best players, and for the past 3-4 years he's been injured. He's been in and out of the team. He's had some quite a few bad games. He's been rash and stuff like that. But the past 3 games has been really really good for us because we've been we've been conceding a lot of goals as is. I mean, yes, it's bragging rights to be joint top with Liverpool at this point in time, but the fact that we have conceded about 24 goals is still pretty crazy because as of now, there's only 6 teams that have conceded more goals than us.
Yeah.
So we've even though we still conceded, I'm not saying that Maguire and Bailly are the answers to our questions to win the championship or whatever, but just having Maguire and Bailly, the fact that we can raise the line, we could gives our attackers a lot more to play with because Bailly has the recovery pace to kind of if there's a ball coming in from the top and behind, he can actually recover and tackle the ball and stuff like that. So I thought that was something I really appreciated about the fact and
the block and that block.
Yeah, that block.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Oh my god, that was amazing. As in, it was great to see the reactions of players after the game. Like everyone pretty much going to Eric Bailly. Like it felt like for the first time that you saw some resemblance of a team that is gelling. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it never, like, over the years since Fergie has left, that feeling has pretty much been like unknown for United fans. So it was definitely a very, very good sight to see. And yeah, in the Aston Villa game, I felt that Pogba pretty much had the best game of the season.
Yeah.
And whatever he's playing for a transfer, I don't care. As long as he can put those performances on the pitch and leave in summer, it's a happy goodbye, I would say. And yeah, if he feels like the story has to continue somewhere else for him, so be it. But and the fact that yeah, there are like so many pictures of Grealish talking to Ole, or Grealish talking, like these still shots of Pogba and Grealish, and yeah, again on that note, Grealish was just phenomenal.
Oh my god,
he
is dude! Wow, guy is absolutely world class. What he's become a monster, man. I don't know what. We could all see the talent, right? But geez, he's just taking games by the scruff of the neck, and he's like, I am going to make things happen. He was doing what Bruno does for Manchester United, but for a much more
and even more.
Team.
I think even more. As in, if you just put any striker other than Ole Watkins in Aston Villa, probably he'll score 4 goals just by being in the box.
He just get the ball off him. He is just so strong and such great feet. His creativity is just so, like, I don't know. He's probably at least worth 150 million now. I was thinking about this the other day. I think they were asking for like 70 million or something over the summer.
Yeah, 70
million.
He's easily doubled. He's just signed a new contract. Easily 150 million. They're not going to let him go for anything less than that.
When he sort of came up on the scene, it didn't look like he was going to be like, he had all those bad things about him, like bad rep, and it seemed like he's going to fizz out easily. But then
his mentality was questioned, I think.
Right.
Yeah, I think whenever
it's his mentality now which is the strongest.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to say that whenever he's played like on the field, he has always been like the best player whenever he's playing, and he's always stood out for that matter. So you know what, I'm kind of worried where he ends up, because if he's not going to end up at United, he's probably going to end up at, I don't know, Man City.
I don't know who can afford him.
Yeah, City,
that's
right?
the thing. I just don't know.
Liverpool.
150 million, really? I don't think anybody has that kind of money.
They have the money to postpone the games, right? So why not?
But
I mean, Manchester City, in theory.
Yeah.
I've heard that the reason why, I mean, there also been talks about them renewing De Bruyne's contract and stuff like that, and the fact that enough money is because they're trying to accommodate the fact that Messi is coming over the summer. So if Messi comes,
really?
I'm assuming,
I don't think so.
Grealish, I don't know. I think there's a very good chance he'll come. I mean, Barcelona pretty much done and dusted.
So
there is no way Messi is going to. Okay, if he's not going to stay at Barcelona, maybe he'll go to PSG. But I don't think he's going to stay at Barcelona past next summer.
So sorry to digress.
My gut feel is he will. Anyway, let's leave that for another day.
Okay.
Yeah, go
But
ahead, Rahul.
yeah, I mean,
Rahul, you had
No, no,
something to
I
say.
have
Rahul.
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
something
Go ahead.
speculative. Exactly, something speculative. Like, do you see a Ronaldo Messi reunion in the Premier League next year?
oh no,
Like that
Nah,
was the
Manchester
question.
specifically.
Yeah,
no.
Manchester actually.
no, I
That
don't
would be
think so.
something.
It would be a good.
I think
It
the
would
Premier League will
definitely
do
be a good.
everything they
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
Premier League will do everything they can if they
Premier
can do
League will
anything
give
to
money to these clubs to make sure that,
yeah.
or they
They'll
lack
pool it.
lacks the rules about all the financial fair play and everything. So, but
I
Yeah,
I
that's
think
more.
in general it was a good turnaround. I felt the 7 points out of 3 games for United was great. Uh, it's just now. I think I was talking to a friend who's a Liverpool fan, and I think even Avinash mentioned. I think after a really long time, there would be a Manchester Liverpool game, which is of some, or and Manchester United. Sorry, not Manchester. Manchester City and Liverpool have played quite a few significant games, but after a really long time, United and Liverpool would have a significant game where both are playing for the title, pretty much. And
still too early
it's
to.
too soon.
Yeah.
It's too soon, but yeah, as in no one wants to lose that game for sure. As in it is
Yeah.
very important.
As
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel it also like if I mean, if we win against Burnley, I don't know. I feel like United will be a little on the
Cautious.
of the mindset that they do not want to lose the game rather than you know
I,
go ahead and because I'm
you,
sure Liverpool will come guns blazing. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's going to happen anyway. I don't see Oli going for it either
Yeah,
way. Because that's
Yeah,
kind of his way in big games, right? He tends to
and we're
play
playing at
defensive
Anfield
counter.
too, so
It's
yeah,
going to be a counter-attacking thing again. So I'm a little nervous. I won't lie. Especially, I don't doesn't look like Matip is going to be back. That is what worries me the most. I know Reece Williams did well against Tottenham, but I think United are a bit of a different beast. But yeah, we will talk about that when we get there. What I did want to ask was, now we have it's what 26 points out of 30 since November for Man
mm,
United. I can't say I've watched all their games, but uh, what sense do you get? Do you think this is sustainable? Is it just they've? I know they had a lot of comebacks, early on in that run where they kept putting up good second half performances away from home. But on the whole, do you think the style of play and what they're doing, the chance creation and just how they're
yeah,
playing, sustainable, or is it just that certain things are going their way, or they're reliant on certain individuals? I mean, we've already spoken about Bruno to pull them
yeah.
out of these situations.
I think especially the Aston Villa game, the first 15-20 minutes, the kind of interchanging play, fluid, the one touch passing between what do you call it, Pogba, Martial, even Luke Shaw was involved in it, and that I don't know. I felt like something that wasn't by chance. It seemed pretty smooth and slick. I feel like we are getting to that position where it's not going to be those hit the ball, long ball, have Rashford run and then just score kind of thing. I feel like we have that in our what do you call it? We have that those skills in our those repertoire of I'm losing my words right now, but we have those in our armor to actually try and break down teams. So I don't I may you know what when I think when it comes to the big teams, we will still employ the whole counter-attacking aspect of it just because we don't
mhm.
want to concede, be it the Liverpools or Man Cities. But I think when it comes to the other teams, we will go after them because that's the only way to kind of accumulate points and put ourselves in contention of any trophies. So yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
if
and
Nisarg
I
has a
kind of
similar.
yeah, I do kind of agree. As in, I still feel that the tactics are like I think all his tactics are generally reactive. It is very dependent on the team he's playing. So to address the question of whether United has like a fixed style of scoring goals, probably I don't think so. That's we'll see
Yeah,
that, and he seems to be like very stuck to the idea of rotation is going to be key. So like we saw like I think the game against Everton, which is like in the Carabao Cup, we had 9 changes, and then pretty much throughout we have had 3-4 changes throughout the game, so we don't have like a fixed 11, and it doesn't look like given how busy
Except
this
for
season
Bruno.
is.
Yeah,
except for Bruno, for sure.
Exactly.
And
And you guys
Maguire.
didn't talk about De Gea.
Like,
Like he
let's,
had a
Yeah.
good game against Villa. He's also
yeah,
coming back
yeah,
on his own.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah, he had
man,
a good game.
that's
De
Yeah,
one
Gea
thing I'm really
saves,
worried
oh my
about.
Yeah.
God.
De Gea against Liverpool is prime Oliver Kahn at the best of times. Now that he's
yeah.
But
yeah,
And
De Gea worries me.
I feel one thing that has changed from the last season is again to that point the competition of places. Like no one can relax. Basically, De Gea knows that some bad performances he's out. Uh, like Pogba knows that like there is Van der Beek on the in the cards. Then Luke Shaw. Everyone I think is thriving under this pressure of competition. I feel. Like even Greenwood, like for the little games he has played, you see him track back all the way like to our defensive side because he knows like yeah if he doesn't play well he's easily
James.
replaceable. Yeah, there is James or like, and Martial. I feel
Martial.
his performances have been underrated quite a bit. As in he's kind of playing that Firmino role where it is kind of a thankless job where the plaudits go to Salah and Mane, but and here in our team it's Bruno and Rashford who probably get the plaudits, but I think he makes it tick. Uh, so I feel that the contributions are there, and he also knows that yeah there is Cavani who is sitting on the bench. So if you don't perform for too long, we have some. So I think that is one thing that has changed quite a bit and
Options, yep.
would help us quite a bit in this season. But I don't think so. We'll see a fixed style of play throughout the season. I don't see
Yeah.
that is how Ole is going to play. It's going to be reactive to the team.
Yeah, I mean the one thing I can say about United is I feel like they're always going to score.
Yeah.
There's a goal coming and they do seem to take a lot of shots. I think that's one thing that we have not done enough recently. We don't seem to take enough shots. It's just a lot of playing around the edge of the box. The ball keeps going out to the full backs, back into midfield, back and sideways. So that's something which I do think United have. They have that sort of spark at times through Bruno mainly, but it just feels like they're able to just take charge of the situation at times, even if, I know I've made a lot of references to freestyle football, I think, but there are certain situations where freestyle football helps.
Yeah.
And it might have probably helped Liverpool over this last week if they were just able to forget about it and just play. So I think that United do have that. So that's something in their favor.
I was Maguire doesn't play against Burnley because I think if he gets another yellow card, he won't feature against Liverpool. So, yeah.
But he can play.
Good or bad
He
thing?
can play the next game in the. He can play in the Carabao Cup, force himself to get a yellow card, then miss the game against Watford, and then play Burnley and
You want to
Liverpool.
do a Jose Mourinho, Sergio Ramos?
Oh my God! I don't know.
He
what to
did.
do.
He did that in Champions League,
Champions
right?
League, yeah.
Yeah, he
Was
did
it
that
Xabi
with
Alonso or
Sergio
Ramos?
Xabi Alonso or Ramos?
Ramos.
I think three players.
And
Yeah,
Ramos.
three players or two
Ramos.
players.
Three players did that by
Yeah.
force. I know two for sure.
I
Did
think
it.
it was three.
Ramos even got sent off. So
And for
I
stupid
think-
So
reasons.
yeah, basically Maguire should get a yellow card tomorrow. Like last kick of the game, just get a yellow card or something, and then miss the game. It's weird. I don't quite understand this competition shift. As in, I feel that like FA and
it
Carabao
should be
Cup
kept
and
separate.
EPL should be separate. But anyways, now
I think we should probably move on. I think we're already pushing the hour almost. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Chelsea, Man City, is there?
Man City is
whether
coming
any
back
thoughts?
to form.
Yeah, Man City.
Yeah, I think it's an ominous sign.
With
I-
Ampel.
I did mention, I don't want to say I told you so, but I did
Yes.
mention
Yeah.
I see them
Yeah.
having the staying power to go all the
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
and I see them the only
They're
challengers.
definitely looking scared. And in the last game against Chelsea, I don't know whether you guys noticed, as in De Bruyne was playing in the striker role.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Like a
was
false nine, De Bruyne.
yeah, it surprisingly worked very well. I felt, he was better than Jesus for sure. That player can
trying all
pretty
sorts of.
much play wherever. I feel.
Oh yeah.
That and also the fact that Gundogan was
Brilliant in that.
Yeah, it's like striker, the striker instinct, you could say, the way he took his first goal. And
Yeah.
even Foden was amazing with his the pass came from De Bruyne and he just, bam, the net was bulging. So
That
yeah,
was a really good goal.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. We spent a lot of time criticizing City about for their defense, and apparently they're not leaking any goals. You know,
He's turned that around. Yeah.
they've done a really good job. I think they've only conceded about 13 goals or something. So fair
I
play
think we,
to
we
Diaz
discussed
and
this, right? He's
I
tightened
mean,
up
yeah,
defensively at the cost of something going forward. That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
As in
now
he's
that
playing two CDMs. He never
yeah,
did that before.
yep. And Diaz
So
has been like exceptional. John Stones has found a second, third, fourth wind, whatever it is. But
Yeah, I was
he's still,
surprised
yes,
that
for
he's
sure.
still playing
it's
at
hard.
City. The first time I saw him this season, I thought he was done.
no, he's going to
Yeah.
get another contract as
Oh,
well. That's what I've
wow.
heard. So
Okay.
Mhm.
I
you
think
know how
Guardiola was always rated him, but he just had personal issues as well.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a perfect storm. So
Yeah. And one
I think
thing I wanted to quickly mention with City also, I think Rahul touched upon it of the postponed game they had and like
Yeah.
how
oh
which I
yeah,
felt was quite ridiculous for them
yeah,
to get away with that. One like I think I don't know whether you noticed, but for the first time in the season, I felt like having that gap worked in their favor big time against Chelsea.
yeah,
They were
yeah.
fresh. They were like
yeah.
very
No, that
sharp,
is, yeah.
and and Chelsea was struggling, as in they could not cope up with the energy that the entire team had. I I'm not taking anything away from their performance, but having that break at this crucial juncture of the season
Mm-hmm.
is means quite a lot, and it can change fortunes, as we know. As in, the other teams are playing games every 3 days, and they I don't know. There was a pretty big gap, right? They almost had a week or
Yeah,
more
yeah,
of worth of
yeah.
gap, and it worked in their favor brilliantly. I felt, which was I feel it's kind of unfair, but I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah. They had what, three players
Obviously, it is
out for
unfair. Yeah.
COVID,
yeah, yeah, three
and
Yeah,
the
players.
rule
But
was
we
like
also
you
had three
have to
players
have
out.
14 players.
We also had three
Is
players
that?
out. We also had
Yeah,
three
Arsenal
players.
also
Yeah,
had three
it's
players
nothing.
out.
Yeah.
3 players is nothing. And the
Yeah.
rule is like you need to have 14 players in your
Yeah,
squad to be able to play. Dude, they have such a big squad. At 3 players, it's like a drop in the ocean. It's nothing. I
yeah.
don't know
I
And that to which
what are the
players
rules
also,
anymore.
right?
Nobody knows.
Money.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that
like
I think Everton asked for like
Yeah, they did.
doctors' reports and stuff like that. Did the FA go into that? I mean, it seems like they obviously had an advantage which they capitalized on. Is this going to kind of equal its way out in later the season when they
They
have
do
to play
have.
like
They
probably
will have.
2 games in very short
Yeah.
period of time? But
Hopefully it does, because if that was
I
their
always
game, then they deserve to get sort of
exactly
payback for it.
especially the fact that Everton and Chelsea were like really big games and
Yeah.
they were back to back. So,
yeah,
but yeah,
They may have jumped from the frying pan onto the fire, because you don't know when that game is going to be played now. And if they're in the Carabao
yeah,
Cup final, that's in April, so that's another game. So you don't want to accumulate too many games with Champions League as well. That we know that's kind of their main priority. So
hmm
yeah, it may turn out, it may backfire if that was indeed their sort of
yeah,
plan.
yeah. I think
Yeah, I think we
in terms of
already
Chelsea, I didn't. Yeah, I did. Yeah, Chelsea. I think we covered their bad
already
their
form.
touched on
flaws.
them.
3-1 formula.
Yeah, I think.
They had one.
Yeah, I think losing to Arsenal was a watershed moment for
And one
Lampard.
thing that was very surprising was not in the Arsenal game, in the Chelsea Man City game, not bringing Giroud on for like throughout the game. That was very like forget Giroud, like not bringing like Tammy Abraham or Giroud on for the matter to change up the game. They have run out of favors for Lampard, and he wants to stick with his transfers and that style of play. I guess it's the
Giroud is
only
still the
I
player.
think
best striker
Lampard,
though.
Tammy
Lampard looks
Abraham.
lost. He
Who?
looks lost. I
Oh,
don't know.
Lampard. Yeah.
He has. Yeah, go ahead, Rahul. You were saying.
No, I'm asking like, is Tammy Abraham a good striker? I have never seen him play. I mean, he's neither a poacher, not a creator. What is he exactly? I mean,
He's more of a target man, I would say. Although I mean his
but
heading
isn't Giro
abilities
a
are
better
suspect.
target man? Not that he's an ex-Arsenal
Yeah, I don't
player.
think Tammy is a great target man.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, Giro
But
is
yeah,
We.
technically a good target man, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
particularly which
Oh,
we
yeah.
have.
Giroud is
Yeah,
definitely better than Tammy.
yeah. So
Right.
what does he bring to
He's
the
in
team,
form as well.
Tammy? I don't even know.
I think we spoke about this, right? How his movement is not good enough, but he's good when he's running in behind, sort of getting onto the end of things. We spoke about this in one of the earlier videos. So he's got that pace. He can stretch defenses. He's been poaching a few goals recently as well, but his all-round game, I think, leaves a lot to be desired. I don't think he's the answer. Timo Werner I definitely don't think is the answer up front. I know it's almost like Lampard caved into the pressure of people asking him to play Werner up front. That flopped, which is not surprising to me at all. So yeah, he's confused. He doesn't know what his best team is anymore, and that's not a good situation to be in this phase of the season where games are coming so quickly as well. So he needs to work that out quickly.
Yeah, it's probably that Netflix moment when you try to figure out which movie you want to watch and you're not able to decide, and then you have so many options available on the bench, and you're like, who should I play today?
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so that, I think, do we have anything more? Tottenham.
Yeah, they had 2 games
going along. Yeah. They again drop points to Wolves by being too reactive after scoring.
Why was their game postponed?
That kind of seems to be that way. But
do you guys know?
That was because of Fulham. Because Fulham's next game also, Fulham's next game also was postponed against Burnley.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Spurs have to play Aston Villa, Sheffield, Liverpool, and Brighton. That's going to be pretty interesting.
I'm sure they're waiting for the Liverpool game.
Yeah.
Their revenge. There's a chance to be the best team once again and win this time.
Sure.
Hey, but you know what? Shout out to Jose's team. I mean, they managed to beat Brentford. So then the finals, they could be facing.
There's VAR in Carabao Cup. 1 goal got cancelled.
I saw that.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're actually 1-1. Yeah, there's 1-1 at one point.
It was a kneecap this time, not an armpit.
Yeah.
He was offside by a kneecap.
Yeah.
I think let's not get into VAR. And I think if he wins the League Cup, that's pretty much his target achieved, I think, with Tottenham.
Yes.
That's what he was brought to do. They've had a favorable run. So, I think.
Make the things.
No excuse.
And that is exact opposite of what Manchester United had. A completely unfavorable run, like Everton and now City. So, let's see what we make out of it.
Yep. So, I think... Yeah, you were saying something, Sheldon?
Oh, I was going to say Happy New Year to everyone because we're going to have new champions.
We'll see. Do Man City count as new champions?
No.
Then I'd bet on that. All right. This was a bit of a long episode, but I think given the number of games I had to cover, but it was good. I think it was a bit of catharsis for me as well, getting that off my chest.
Call me
it's been hard.
if you need any tips.
I will. Yeah. I hope it won't come to that again, but this season is throwing up all sorts of things. So
next week should be interesting.
Yeah.
With the Liverpool Man U game.
Yeah.
Next week, but the next round of games.
There's one more round.
Yeah.
It's a midweek game. Yeah.
To catch up for lost games.
Yeah. So hopefully. I don't know. I can't say if I'm looking forward to it, but I am looking forward to it. Let's see how that goes. All right. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully we'll be back soon. With another, I think it's a double game week. We'll see when we come back again. How many games we'll discuss. So thanks again. As ever, please do like and subscribe and get involved in the comments. So see you next time. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.